Okay, so welcome back.
You didn't like motion, so you knew. Oh.
Oh, I'm sorry, armpit. Well, this is the podcast type, so they're not going to see me raise my armpit anyway.
Mhm. Uh,
So yes, welcome back to another drive home reviews date night review podcast, whatever this is. But we do it because it's what we do.
yes.
Um, I don't know what to say about this one.
I have a lot of things to say about this one, but I
Okay.
don't know how much of it actually has to do with the movie itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah,
So why don't you talk about what the movie is first?
Okay, so if you haven't heard of it, so this one is about a preacher and the first lady. I didn't know that's what you called them.
It's uh, it's a term that some churches use. By the way, the name of the movie is "Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul."
Yes,
You
yes.
haven't introduced that yet. It's
Well, I'm
the
assuming they'll see the title of the video and realize that's what we're talking about. First, it could be like a stealth thing. We get him in there with that, and then we review something else
Yes, we're
because we're
actually
sneaky.
reviewing. Um, yeah, I don't know what else we would be
Sonic the
reviewing.
Hedgehog again. Anyway, um, so a pastor and the first lady of one of these super churches, which if you've ever been to the South, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you have not been to the South and have not seen one of these monstrosities, then
They're
boy howdy,
massive, super
yeah.
churches, mega churches. Yeah.
And they are coming off a scandal, which they don't reveal right away what the scandal was. They kind of let the information leak out as the film progresses, but they're coming off of a scandal and they are planning to reopen their megachurch on Easter Sunday. And the film is about them trying to get ready for this opening
Yeah.
and
In the process of leading up to it and dealing with the scandal and all of that.
dealing with the
Um,
scandal, the fallout, the judgment, and each other.
right. So I think that one of the things the movie did really well is the way that they did handle the reveal of the scandal. Like, if you've watched the commercials, you know something's going on. Like, there's a reason why this pastor has fallen from grace, but you don't know what it is. So at the very beginning, it could be anything like money related. It could be, especially since they start him off showing all of these suits and him talking about his helicopter and all of his cars. So you think, oh, it could be money.
Which is what I thought it
I
was when we saw the trailer. That's what I thought
Right.
it was going to be.
And then you get into it a little bit farther and more is revealed about what it is. And you don't like it is never explicitly said what it is, what
Yeah,
the actual scandal is. It's never no character ever explicitly says it. Um, but you figure it out about halfway through, I'd say.
yeah. It's pretty explicit. I thought, like you said, I thought it was either going to be a money thing or that he had an affair because that's the
Right.
big downfall of a lot of these and what are they called? Angelical types, the
Evangelical.
evangelicals. There it is.
Right.
Um,
And
and it kind of
I
is.
I I knew I knew what it was pretty early on, but that's because, that's the world that I grew up in. Even more strict than that, even more conservative than that. And um because of that, since I become an adult, I've done a lot of research into the world and the fall from grace of different pastors and preachers and whatnot. So I had a pretty good idea of what it was pretty early on. Um,
Yeah,
it mirrors pretty closely to I've seen in stories where they talk about it being a Jimmy or oh gosh, Tammy Faye and yeah, Jim Baker and Tammy Faye
yeah,
Baker. But it's not Jim and Tammy Faye. It mirrors the downfall of Ted Haggard.
yeah.
Do you know Ted Haggard, do you know anything?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, or at least
Yeah,
what the I know enough of the scandal to,
right,
you know.
right. So, um, but what I think that the real shining part of this is that they don't focus on Lee Curtis. They don't focus on the pastor.
No.
The focus of the movie is on Trinity, the first lady, the pastor's wife.
Yes.
And I think that was like the smartest move that the movie made.
I think the movie made a lot of smart moves, at least
Mhm.
in terms of its own structure and presentation. As you said, we were kind of fooled into thinking this was going to be
Comedy.
a comedy, and in some parts it is. Early on, it's really I was getting heavy Christopher Guest vibes.
Right.
You know, it
And it
felt,
is done in that mockumentary style, but it jumps in and out of it.
yeah, it jumps in and out of it, and it takes a serious turn pretty quickly.
It does. It's not a comedy. It is a
No.
drama. And I think it has to be when you're dealing with the subject matter. I told you going into it, I was like, I just need to warn you because of my background, you know, um, because of my early life, that there might be some things that triggered, especially if it's treated as a comedy.
Yeah.
But I think that because it wasn't, and I don't know, I maybe my own perspective is tainting that. Like maybe other people will watch it and find it to be a comedy and,
I think there are moments when it is played as a comedy. There are certainly scenes when they are like meeting with their pastor rivals.
oh yes.
You know, certainly those are played for comedy. That's not, you know, so I think there are moments like that, but generally you're right. It's a comedy. Actually, the thing that struck me, and I said this right before we came in to record, in terms of structure, everything, it's a modern day Greek tragedy.
Oh yes.
Like I wish my intro to theater class, we just studied Greek tragedy, and I wish this film had come out a little earlier. I would have told them to go watch it.
Right.
You know, because it's like,
Although I guess you teach high school, like,
yeah,
yeah. That yeah. There is definitely some strong language and
yeah, you know,
some suggestive scenes in this, so,
well, the suggestive
yeah.
scenes, yeah, but I always love it with, especially with high school students. You know, they swear a blue streak. You say one thing slightly off color, and it's oh
Yeah.
my delicate ears, my
But
sensitivity, mummy, daddy. You said a terrible word to us in class.
oh my gosh. I
But
think that I think speaking of the sensitive scenes, like, to be able to have a sex scene like that makes you feel that kind of just agony
mm,
for like you could, and I think it speaks so highly of Regina Hall, is like that moment for her in that scene. I'm trying so hard to talk about it without like spoiling anything. But that
spoil.
moment for her in that scene where, she is just trying so hard and she just feels so neglected, unseen, helpless, worthless, like you feel all of that with her, you know?
You do, but I will also, I'll, you know, ironically, I'll play devil's advocate and say I felt that way for both of them.
Right.
You know, I felt like, again, going back to the Greek tragedy analogy, is that it, in structure and in character development, it really is. It's, you know, the action starts at the climax. You know, no pun intended, with the scene we were just talking about. Um, uh, so the event has already happened. The scandal has already happened. So they're dealing with the fallout from it.
Right.
It's about people who had everything and lost it through their own choices. And it's a story wherein throughout the entirety of the thing, you don't know if you want these people to succeed or not.
Right.
Like, you really don't, because they have done bad things and they are very disingenuous, but at the same time, they are also sympathetic.
I would agree. Okay, so this is where we're gonna differ. I don't know that they're disingenuous.
I think they are to an extent. They're showmen. They make that comparison a lot, and they have a very different face um, to the world than the one they have in private.
But that's being a pastor's wife. Like, I've known a lot of pastors' wife, and they have to present a very put together face. I know my mom didn't have best friends because she had to be so specific and precise, around others, and that, like, just she had to negotiate and juggle everybody's emotions and everybody's feelings all of the time, uh, you know, and I think that is part of what she's doing. What I really she you say that they've lost everything because of their own choices. I don't think she ever really had a choice.
No, this is true.
She never really had a choice because you could say, yes, you could leave, but when she's trying to reach out to the people around her and tell her what a hard time she's having, her husband doesn't think of her as a victim at all, isn't doing anything to ease her pain in this situation. And she reaches out to her mom about how she's feeling and pours her heart out. She's basically told to buck up and that she wasn't a real Christian if she was going to think about making any other choice besides staying with her husband. So I really just like I don't think she had ever really had a choice,
Hmm.
you know.
Okay, well,
Mm,
fair enough.
but him, yes, but he was filled with such self-hatred
Yeah,
that he allowed that to color all of his choices, and he
hmm,
couldn't see out he couldn't see past himself. Like I said, he couldn't even see what it was doing to his wife.
yeah, exactly. And like I said, that's what makes it very, very Greek in that perspective. Is, again, you don't know if you want these people to succeed or to have a redemption. You're as an audience, you're very torn between, you want to see them fail for what happened, but at the same time you want to see them somehow come out okay.
Right, right.
You
I
know,
would and like, that's, like, where I would draw the line too between him and her because I think I wanted to see her succeed. I wanted to see her get a win,
mm,
and I think that I think I think she does. You know, that's like they did this little trick during the movie that we kind of talked about during the movie, but we didn't really see. When she is thinking about something and she is making an internal decision, this tambourine goes off. And you can see her face change sometimes. Like I'm going to I'm perfectly happy. I'm shopping in this hat store. Oh no, you know, I see some of my husband's victims and I can't, I have to leave. She sees like and you hear that little tambourine chime and you hear it again at the end and it doesn't tell you what decision she makes. It doesn't tell you how it ends. It doesn't tell you if they were successful. But, I feel like she makes that decision in that moment that she's going to do something for herself. Like she is going to look out for herself in that situation. You know? I don't know. Anyways, go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
no, I was listening to your interpretation. I don't think you're wrong.
Okay.
I think they leave it purposefully ambiguous because you don't. But I think the shot of the statue of Jesus they bring out and the balloons suddenly covering his face, kind of
Right.
like because that to me was her walking away and pushing the balloons out of her way as she did.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I could see that.
So but again, it could not be. It's an Inception top thing. Does it fall over? Does it not fall over? You never know, and then you spend the next 20 years banging your head against the wall.
Oh, I have no desire ever to watch Inception again. But this is, I mean, I just like I can't it's a lot of things to think about and chew on. And we just finished watching it. A lot of times we'll wait a little while before we review, and I'll be able to put my thoughts into a better order. This movie for me has so much to ruminate on. I don't know that I can really explain much more of it other than the fact that I just like I know Regina Hall is a good actress, but I didn't realize how good of an actress that she was, I think, until this movie. I think that she just nailed these quiet emotional scenes. Like you just I mean, when you have a character like this where she has to put on a good face for everybody and she has to stand behind her man and all that, so much of that acting has to be done just within like a blink or your face just changing for a second. And I think she just nails it.
I would agree, but I would also say I think they both do a hell of a job.
Sterling K. Brown was there.
I
Although
think
I grew very concerned about Sterling K. Brown's eye health during the making
yeah,
of
he
it.
got his eyes got
It's
very bloodshot.
it's so bloodshot. Like, I
But
worry about his eyes.
I mean, I will agree with you very very strongly on Regina Hall's performance. But I think it's a it's a two-person dance, and I think he does a hell of a job as well.
He
Like,
does.
and again, he has a. They both have very difficult acting challenges, and he has the task of again playing a man who has done some who they never say if he actually did it or what. You can ruminate and assume that he did. I assume that he did.
Right.
But the details are sketchy. You don't know what went on, but it's a person who did something really wrong.
But
And like,
not it's hard it's not a legal wrong though,
well, they
like he
they
says.
don't they don't know because the one kid was fairly young or just barely legal. Again,
Right.
they don't really give you an age.
Right.
Again, it's all very ambiguous, and so he's playing this guy who, at his core, at one time, was probably not a bad person.
Right.
He's still trying to get back to that. When he's practicing his comeback speech in the church, I thought that was a hell of a monologue.
Right.
Like I kept seeing like Oscar clip, Oscar clip, Oscar clip. I mean, so I think they had some really tricky and complex layered characters that they had to play, and I think both of them did a hell of a job. So anything else I might think about the movie, I definitely think acting and writing wise, it was
Oh, yeah.
one of the more um,
And writing, speaking of that, this was based on a short written by a woman named Adama Ebo. She and her twin sister they've created a production company. And it was a short that she had written and directed and they had created. And then Jordan Peele, our savior of the films, he his production company, Monkey Paw, got a hold of it, and they've turned it into this feature length, and she wrote the script for this as well, and I think it's just very well written.
And she directed it too, didn't she?
I believe so.
I thought it said written and directed by.
Yeah, I believe so. So, I mean, that's really impressive. I
Yeah.
don't I would be shocked if she was out of her 20s or and create like and to be that young and to be able to create something this complex is pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's Citizen Kane level shit.
Yeah. So, 'cause it is like, I mean, it is a very well shot movie too, I think. I'm still I don't know how much I enjoy them going in and out of the mockumentary style. I appreciate being able to have the private moments that we did. Um, I think that I would have liked a little bit more differentiation between the scenes that were mockumentary and the scenes that were not.
Yeah. Well, I think they did. I noticed, I think when they go out of the mockumentary, the screen goes to widescreen.
Does it?
There's definitely a shift.
Maybe my TV's not big enough to notice that. You do have a theater-sized television in your room.
I do have the
If there was
monolith.
gonna be if there was gonna be any shift of anything, you would notice it.
Yeah, but there is definitely a shift in it's small,
Right.
but there is and I started to notice it kind of like the tambourine. When they would shift out of the mockumentary, there would be
Right.
there'd be a change in the way it was shot and the angle of the lens or something. So I think there is.
Mhm. I think there were just a lot of subtle choices in this that were amazing, which looking at this movie, looking at even the name of it, Honk for Jesus Save Your Soul, like, you wouldn't think subtle would be a thing, you
Yeah.
know? Like, but I think there are just such good subtle pieces to it, you know? Like, said when we finished watching it, it's not a horror movie, but it has a Jordan Peele feel to it.
It's a well, because Jordan Peele, from the movies I've seen, and again, I've only seen Get Out and Nope,
Right.
is that his movies aren't, I wouldn't even necessarily qualify them as horror movies in the strictest sense. They're more about the ugliness of humanity.
I could see that
You know,
social
yeah,
horror.
yeah, social horror with using the horror genre as kind of a template.
Right.
But and again, I don't know about Us. I've never seen that one, but just from the two I've seen, and again, he didn't direct this one, he did produce it. This seems to be very much in keeping with uh, that theme.
Right. Like, it feels like it is making a commentary.
Oh,
The
it's making a very strong commentary, like,
and yeah.
and I think it's a bit. This one's a little bit more obvious than Nope, at least a touch. So
Yeah, and I think it's so interesting too, because it is such I mean, I think that if you live in certain parts of the country, you can get an idea that the the country has come along a lot farther than it actually has.
yeah.
But if you live in the South and you're actually surrounded by these mega churches, you
Oh,
know that
I
this
remember.
rhetoric is
I
yeah.
remember like when I first moved to Tennessee and my first encounter with the mega church, or Six Flags Over Jesus, as it's called by certain people around here. Uh,
And yeah, it's definitely interesting to see that because it is like I couldn't watch like I said, the churches I grew up in were more strict and more conservative than this. But I think that for the milieu of churches that this one was talking about, I think they were just dead on with the comparison.
yeah,
So, yeah.
it's interesting. Just off topic a little bit. This is the second week in a row where I've watched a movie by a young up and coming female director who directed a short film version of the movie first and then got the money to do a full length version.
Is that the Miss Madison?
No, Mr. Malcolm's List,
Right, right.
like almost the exact same story.
So apparently that's the way to do it, you know, like
But that's just really interesting to me that the second week in a row that's a trend. A young female up and coming director made a short version and then made a full length version. That's just
I just love that female directors are getting that chance. And in this case, a black female director,
yeah.
you know, like that's I mean, that's amazing. You know, I wish we were to a point in history where that didn't have to be such a big deal, but I mean, it is a big deal and it should be celebrated.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, I think that this is not a movie that everybody's going to enjoy. I think there are people who are going to take it at its face value and just think it's funny. I think there's people who are going to be greatly offended by it.
Oh God, yes. And
Um,
I would be lying if I said I didn't think that was the point.
right.
You know, I think they want you to be a bit offended by it, by
Uh,
the sheer hypocrisy of it.
well, I think that the offensiveness is going to come into I think that people are going to see this and be like feel like their Christianity is being mocked, you know,
Which
and that they don't
in a way it kind of is.
well, I think that there's probably good reason.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
so but yeah, I think like this was not the movie I expected it to be going in. And I think that that's good. I think that um it actually was really really well done and well produced and I I think if I had to say there was anything about it that I would say would be negative, I think the scene with Khalil and you know this it might be done intentionally, but it didn't feel as impactful as you wanted it to be
the
to
scene with
me.
who?
Khalil, the boy at the end when they're out
Oh,
honking.
see, that's interesting because I felt it was really impactful. Like I thought,
I
I felt it was powerful. It was uncomfortable. It was, and you felt it from both sides. Like you felt Camille's um, anger, and you felt the awkwardness from both him and from everybody involved. I thought it was a very powerful scene.
I think I wanted Lee Curtis to get more of a comeuppance.
But but then he does.
True.
He does get his comeuppance, and I say in a very Greek kind of
Right.
way. You know,
Right.
he's a king with no kingdom.
So, okay. What about you? Negative parts?
Uh I don't know, and that's something I'm having a kind of a hard time with because when you break it down, I enjoyed a lot of the aspects of this movie. I enjoyed the writing of it. I enjoyed the directing of it. I really enjoyed the acting of it. But kind of like we were talking about with the Elvis movie, when we put it all together, I don't know if I liked the movie as a whole.
Hmm.
I feel it could be simply because this is a film that, um, by the very nature of our review format, it's not suited for. Because again, the whole point behind drive home reviews, as you said, is it's an immediate gut reaction.
Right. And
And
you can't
this is a movie where it needs you need to think about it
it's a
before.
marinating movie.
Yeah. So it's kind of difficult for me to answer that question because on the surface of it, I don't feel that the movie did anything really wrong, but I'm not 100% sure if I could say I liked it.
But in the long run, but I liked it. I definitely liked it, but in the long run, I think that that goes to speak of the quality of the movie itself as well, because I know I'm going to think about this movie. I know I'm going to like, parts of it are gonna come back to me, and I'm gonna, like, mentally chew on it, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, so that speaks to the movie making process as a whole. So, yeah, I don't know. And I mean, the costumes in this.
Oh, yeah, they really caught the Southern church going, you know,
God,
uh, dress aesthetic like a
I
lot.
wish I could wear hats like that. That is
I wish I could wear
they
suits
are
like that. That damn, he was
oh my
styling.
gosh.
He
I
reminds me of
know.
one of the coaches we have at the school where he's one of I forget I don't know what I think he kind of coaches basketball and he's also um like the I don't want to say the guidance counselor, but he's kind of in charge of the program for mental health and trying to stop problems before they happen. And damn, that man is stylish. Like, god damn, he comes in with these immaculate suits and he just looks he looks good. You're like, bloody hell, man.
You wouldn't think that in a movie where he's playing a pastor, that Sterling K. Brown could find nearly as many reasons to take off his shirt.
But he sure did. And you know what? I ain't gonna begrudge him that. If I had a body like that, I'd be taking my shirt off every 5 seconds. You'd be like, look at that.
Right,
Like
like, he earned it. He
that's
earned
right. I do
that.
not begrudge him that for
Mhm.
one damn second. If you got it, buddy, you flaunt it. That's my opinion.
Mm.
You like you say, he earned that.
Ah, alright, my darling,
All
we've
right, so
got
yes,
the
Zoom is
clock
getting ready to kick
counting
us off.
down.
It is counting us down like it's New Year's Eve. We're doing very good though, bringing these in the time allotted.
I know. Yeah.
I did the final episode of Drive Home Reviews meets Abbott and Costello today. It was an hour long video.
Holy moly.
So, but anyway, yes, that's not going to be the case here. We need to wrap this up. So, final grade for uh, Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul. What do you think, baby?
I'm gonna say a solid A. I like I said, I think that I would like more of a differentiation between the two, the mockumentary style and then the intimate style, but definitely a solid A. I would be shocked if this didn't win some awards for some people. Of course, we
Um,
live in a racist society, and Hollywood's the most racist of them all. So yeah, I could be eating my words.
um, I'm gonna be a little not so much more judgmental, but I'm gonna play it a little safer. I'm gonna play it very middle of the road here because again, I need to marinate on this film. So I'm gonna go a B plus.
Okay.
Um, because again, I like all of the independent aspects of it, but I am not sure how I feel about the end product. Now, it's very possible by the end of the year, by the time it comes for top 10 lists and all that, this may make it onto that list. When I've had time to think about it. But for right now, I don't know. I'm not sure what's keeping me from giving it that extra push.
Hmm.
So it's again something I need to think about.
Well, yeah, we may have to revisit it.
Yeah. So
This may be resurrected and rise again.
yeah. Resurrect and rise again, I say.
Amen.
Amen.
Mhm.
Yeah, one of the only comedy bits where they can't decide if they're saying amen or amen. That was cute.
That was good.
Okay, so there you are. So I guess final word on this one is go watch it. It's a good watch and make up your own mind, which is what you should do with every review. But anyway, but thank you all for joining us, and thank you, my love, for another wonderful date night.
Oh, thank you, my darling.
You ever notice we don't watch like traditional date night movies on date night? It's always
We've watched a couple romantic comedies.
yeah, we have.
Yeah.
We
Oh
really,
well.
but we're a progressive couple.
Exactly.
We're intellectuals. But as always, thank you for being here, my love. Thank you for sharing this with me. It's a true joy. And everyone else, take care. And as always, drive safe. And we will see you at the movies. Now I have to figure out how to turn it off. There it is.